योगः कर्मसु कौशलम्.
Hi friends, I am Chartered Accountant Smith Shah. I thank you UGC Human Resource Development Center of Gujarat University for giving me an opportunity to connect with you and deliver my session on payment of tax under GST. I really thank Professor Dr. Jagdish Joshi, who is Professor and Director of UGC HRDC of Gujarat University. HRDC Gujarat University is ranked 15th in India and number 1 in Gujarat. It is pioneer and it has created history by organizing the first of its kind online refresher course in India in the year 2018-19. About 2,500 participants have attended it. Further, the first of its kind online annual refresher program in English language teaching with record break 9,000 participants in the year 1920. Further, the first of its kind online annual refresher program in English language teaching with record break 3,500 participants in the year 2020-21, friends. Today, we are going to discuss a wonderful topic, a fabulous topic on GST, a very practical topic on GST. It is, friends, payment of tax. I hope you will understand and you will learn a very practical aspect, very fundamental aspect in relation to this concept of payment of tax under GST. Happy learning. Thank you so much. Today we are going to discuss a very fundamental, very practical concept under GST. It is, friends, payment under GST, which is also termed as payment of tax. Friends, what we are going to learn exactly is how the entire payment system, how the entire mechanism of payment under GST is going to work on the common portal. It is entire back end of the GST portal that we are going to learn today. What we will be seeing is the front end of the GST portal while making payment of tax, while filing returns, while filing, or let us say while obtaining registration. What we will be seeing is the front end of the portal. In this chapter, in this concept, what we are going to discuss is the entire backend system, entire mechanism of the compliance under GST in relation to payment of tax. So, likewise, we have permanent account number under income tax. If I am having PAN, what does it mean? That I am registered under Income Tax Act 1961. Similarly, if we are having GSTIN, it is nothing but what? Goods and Services Tax Identification Number. PAN is under income tax. Permanent account number is under income tax. Likewise, GSTIN, it is Goods and Services Tax Identification Number. It is under GST. It is under GST. So, if I am registered under GST, what will be the government authority issuing the number to me is termed as what? Goods and Services Tax Identification Number, which is commonly known as GSTIN. So, after I am having GSTIN, the common portal, which is GST portal, it will be opening my 3 ledgers in the backend. Automatic 3 ledgers will be opened in the backend. Ledger number 1, it would be electronic cash ledger as per section 49 that you can check over here. First, it would be electronic cash ledger. All the cash deposits that I am making, not in the nature of always cash. It may be in, let us say through bank, it may be through, let us say, credit debit card, it may be through NEFT RTGS, it may be, let us say, prescribed modes, any of the prescribed modes by the law. Next, it would be electronic credit ledger. Second ledger that the backend will be preparing is electronic credit ledger. It will be all my inputs which will be reflected in GSTI 2A. So, tax paid on that particular inputs will be available as ITC to me. So, that will be reflected where? Into my electronic credit ledger. And all my outward supplies, listen to me very, very carefully, all my outward supplies for which I am liable to pay tax to government, yes or no? For all my outward supplies, I am liable to pay tax to government. So, that my liability will be reflected where? In electronic liability register. So, these 3 ledgers that we are going to understand, the 3 major pillars of the entire backend of payment of tax that we are going to discuss now in this particular concept of payment under GST. So, how these exact ledgers are going to work, how this exact mechanism is going to function, that entire discussion we are going to consider today in this particular section, which is section 49, electronic cash ledger, electronic credit ledger and electronic liability register. Okay, so first of all, we will be taking a small, very important example to understand the entire functioning of these particular 3 ledgers. Let us say I am Chartered Accountant Smith. Let us say I am making some outward supply. What is my outward supply? That is, supply is made by me to some recipient. What is outward supply? That I am supplying to somebody else. Are you getting my point? What is inward supply? It is my purchases that I am making from somebody else. I think you are getting my point. My outward supply, I will be collecting money, which is consideration, as well as I will be collecting amount of GST. Yes, no? If I am making supply, it is my outward supply. I will be collecting the money from the recipient. Yes, no? I also will be collecting the element of GST. That GST element, let us say my outward supply, which is value of supply, let us say 1 lakh of rupee. My value of supply is, let us say, 1 lakh of rupee, and I will not just collecting rupee 1 lakh from the recipient. Yes, no, I will not just collecting rupee 1 lakh from the recipient. I will also be collecting the GST component from my recipient, because I am what? Registered person, because government has issued to me GSTIN on my application, which is Goods and Services Tax Identification Number. Application is required to be made in GST REG 01 number form, that will be granting me what? GST REG 06, which is nothing but what? A number will be issued to me as Goods and Services Tax Identification Number. After that number is available to me, I am considered as what? I am considered as registered person under GST. So my all outward supplies on which tax is leviable, I will be collecting GST. I will be collecting GST from the recipient. Yes, no? So my outward supply, let us say it is 1 lakh of rupee. I am collecting GST. Let us say 18% is the rate of tax. So I will be collecting GST at 18%. Amount comes to what? 18,000 of rupees. So my total amount that I will be collecting from my recipient, from my buyer, is 1,18,000. Yes, no? My outward supply, 1 lakh of rupees there. 18,000, I am collecting GST from the recipient. That is not my income. That is not my sales. That I cannot credit to my profit and loss account or even trading account. This is my sales. This is my sales. But this 18,000 that I am collecting from recipient is not my income. That I cannot put to my pocket. Yes, no? This is my liability. This is my liability. This will be either in nature of CGST plus SGST, CGST plus UGST, or it will be IGST, depending upon nature of supply. If it is intrastate supply, meaning thereby if it is within state supply, what tax I will be levying is CGST plus SGST. If it is within union territory supply, what I will be levying is CGST plus UTGST. If it is interstate supply, what I will be levying is IGST. Okay, so this is not my income that I can put to my pocket. This is my liability that I need to pay to government, maybe in nature of CGST, SGST, UTGST or IGST. Okay. So these outward supplies, I need to disclose this invoice. I need to disclose this supply in my return, which is GSTR1. This disclosure needs to be made in which number form, friends? It is GSTR1. So this liability will be reflected in electronic liability register. This liability will be reflected in electronic liability register. Listen to me very, very carefully. We are considering the back end, the entire process, the entire mechanism, how the payment under GST is going to work. Okay. So my outward supply was 1 lakh of rupee. I am already collecting 18,000 as a GST component. Total collection is 1,18,000. This 1 lakh is my sales that I am going to credit to my profit and loss or trading account, as the case may be. And this GST component of rupees 18,000 is not my income. It is my liability that I am required to pay to government. Yes, no? Absolutely yes. So what will be my total is 1,18,000. My total collection from the recipient will be 1,18,000, and this amount of 18,000 is my liability that I am required to pay to government. Okay. So this reflection will be in electronic liability register, and in electronic liability register, this 18,000 is going to be debit. This is debit side of ledger, this is credit side of ledger, and this 18,000 of rupees is it is my liability. So it will be reflected as a debit to my electronic liability register. Now, what is the logic? What is the fundamentals behind this debit of liability register? So generally we are aware that any asset is debited, any liability is credited. What is general balance sheet? If we talk about the fundamental of accounting, if we talk about asset is having debit side, liability is having credit side. So what is this entire ledger all about? That is electronic cash ledger, electronic credit ledger, electronic liability register. What is the mechanism of ledger? Is the books of accounts is prepared by government. Listen me very, very carefully. The fundamental, the reason why is this amount of liability of rupees 18,000 is debited to this particular liability register. What is the reason that I'm going to convey, my dear friends? That these books of accounts are prepared by government because it is on the common portal. We as a registered person are not required to prepare these ledgers. It is prepared by common portal, which is government portal. Yes or no? It is prepared by GST portal. So liability of mine, which is of rupees 18,000, will be debited. Why it is debited? So that concept or that reason I'm going to discuss. That generally asset is debited, liability is credited. So this is books of accounts of government, where Smith is a registered person. So my ledger is maintained in the books of government. Yes or no? My ledger, being registered person, is maintained in the books of government. So it is government's book. So my liability of rupees 18,000, listen me very, very carefully. My liability of rupees 18,000 is asset for government. My liability of rupees 18,000 is asset for government. And as it is asset for government, it will be debited, it will be debited, it will be debited to what? Electronic liability register. So this is the fundamental, this is the reason why this amount is debited, because this liability I need to pay to government. So my liability becomes asset for government, and that asset is debited to what? It is debited to electronic liability register in the books of accounts of government that is maintained on the common portal. So this is the reason why it is debited to liability register. Okay. Moving further. For this outward supply, listen me very, very carefully now. For this outward supply, definitely there is going to be some inward supply. Suppose it is trading of goods, so I would have purchased the goods, then I would have sold the goods. Yes or no? If it is manufacturing activity, so before let us say selling it, I would have purchased some raw materials. I am service provider, so definitely some plant and machinery, some capital goods may be my inputs. Yes, no? So there will be some inward supply. There will be some inward supply. There is going to become some inward supplies. Now, in this inward supply, I'm not going to collect the money from recipient. I need to pay the amount to recipient. Yes, no? I'm not required to collect the money from recipient. Here, I will be making some payment to supplier. Getting my point or not? I will not be collecting some money from recipient because it is my inward supply. This is my purchases. So I need to make some payment to whom? My supplier. I need to make payment of tax to whom? My supplier. Okay. So in this scenario, let us say value of supply was, let us say 10,000 of rupees. So goods worth rupee 10,000. I'm selling it for rupees 1 lakh. So consider my profit of rupees 90,000. Okay. So this GST is not collected by me. This GST is paid by me. So this is GST paid. What amount of GST I have paid? Let us say 18% comes to 1800. Okay. So total payment that I will be making is 11,800. Yes, no? 10,000 goods or service I am procuring. Tax is of rupees 1800 that I am making payment of, and total it would be 11,800. Okay. So this inward I am not using for my personal purposes. This inward, I am using it for my business purpose. Yes, no? This inward is not used for my personal purposes. This inward supplies is used for the purpose of business. So I will be eligible for ITC. It is nothing but what? Input tax credit. The word has a wonderful meaning. It is input, meaning that by what? It is my purchases. The tax at the time of purchase, which is paid by me, is available as what? Credit. It is available as what? Credit. So that I will be able to reduce from my GST liability. I think you are getting my point. Yes, no? So this 1800 rupees is not my cost. These 1800 rupees that I have paid at the time of purchase is not my cost. That will be available as what? ITC. That will be available as what? Input tax credit. Okay. So my ITC, if I say it is 1800 of rupees. Okay. This will be reflected in my GSTR 2A. This will be reflected in my GSTR 2A. My all outward supplies are reflected that I need to furnish, that are reflected in my GSTR 1, which is returns, GSTR 1. My inward supplies will be reflected in GSTR 2A. So my GSTR 2A will be saying that I have paid tax of rupees 1800. That will be available as what? ITC, because this inwards I am using it for what? Business purposes. Okay. So ITC will be of rupees 1800. Okay. Now, what is my final GST liability that I need to pay to government? GST liability to be paid to government. Okay, so what amount of GST liability I need to pay to government? Okay, so what amount of GST I have collected? GST collected, that you can check from the information. It is 18,000 of rupees. That amount of GST I have collected from the recipient. So this 18,000 is my GST collection. Minus it is ITC, the tax that I have paid at the time of purchase. B transaction, the tax that I have paid at the time of purchase, which was what? It was 1800 of rupees. So I will be deducting 1800. So 16200 I need to pay to government. That is not from my own pocket. This is the very important thing. That is not from my own pocket. This is amount that I need to pay from the amount that already have collected from the recipient. I have not just collected rupees 1 lakh from the recipient. I have already also collected 18,000 as a tax. So from this 18,000 of rupees, this 1800 is available as a credit, which is input tax credit, and the balance amount of rupees 16200 need to pay. I am required to pay that amount to whom, friends? It is government. So 16200 is my liability. This is my what? Liability. Okay. So this rupees 1800 will be reflected in my electronic credit ledger. Now you are required to answer this. This will be my debit side. This will be my credit side. Okay, electronic credit ledger. It is also known as ITC ledger. It is also known as credit ledger. Okay, so this was my liability of rupees 18,000 that I need to pay to government, that we have debited to electronic liability register. That is debited to what? Electronic liability register. Number 2 is ITC, which is of rupees 1800. Now answer, my dearest friends. This ITC is my asset or my liability? This ITC of rupees 1800 is my asset or is my liability? Definitely it is what? It is my asset. So this is liability of government. Are you getting my point or not? 1800 rupees is my liability or asset? It is my asset. So it is liability for somebody else. It is nothing but what? Government. So it is liability of government, asset of me. So we are discussing backend of GST portal. We are discussing books of accounts of government prepared by GST portal, prepared by government, in which my ledger is appearing, my ledger is reflecting. Yes, no? So this amount of rupees 1800, now you need to say this amount will be debited to credit ledger or it will be credited to credit ledger. Bolo, it will be debit, credit, debit, credit. I want your answer, my dearest friends. It will be debit, credit, debit, credit. Definitely it is what? My asset, government's liability. So it is going to be what? Credit to this particular electronic credit ledger. I think you are getting my point. Okay. Now 16200 I need to pay from my pocket, but it is not from my pocket. This is pocket specifically prepared, that amount of GST I have collected from recipient. So that 18,000 I have collected from recipient, that I need to pay to government. But I am already available with ITC of rupees 1800, that I will not be paying it again. So I will be reducing that amount from my liability. I will be definitely going to pay what? 16200 as my what? Liability. Okay. So this liability I need to pay by way of let us say check. I can also transfer from my bank account through NEFT, through RTGS. Let us say I can also use some debit credit card. I can also use some demand draft, or I can also deposit some cash and physically go to bank and deposit that cash in my let us say through Chalan to my account. Okay, so this amount after depositing by any of the means that I have discussed, it may be by bank, it may be by NEFT, RTGS, it may be by check, it may be by let us say IMPS, it may be by any other mode that we'll be also discussing further. But after that deposit, the amount that I have deposited, will be reflected in electronic cash ledger. It will be reflected in electronic cash ledger. First of all, let us discuss only by what means I can deposit this amount, so that you can check over here. These are the mode of deposit in electronic cash ledger. 16200 is my liability that I am required to pay to government. But for that, I need to first of all deposit that amount to my cash ledger. And what will be the methodology that I will be using to deposit this amount, that you can check from the screen. Some payments are online, some payments are offline, or rather say some modes are online, some modes are offline. What are the online modes that you can check? First is, friends, internet banking. Internet banking that you can let us say use is NEFT, RTGS, IMPS. Any of the modes is available from internet banking that you can use. Next is debit credit card. Law is saying use of debit credit card is permissible. Law is saying that use of debit or credit card is permissible. But practically, if we check on the common portal, if you go on the common portal, there is no such mechanism available. There is no such methodology available. There is no any of the medium available where you can use debit or credit card. So it is as per law that we can say, but practically this mode is not available to us, and there is no limit of deposit in case of online payment. If you want to deposit 1000 lakh crore, if the amount is available with you, you can definitely going to deposit any amount that you wish. Okay, but generally what we will be depositing is not the any amount. We will be depositing what? Obviously, it is my liability amount that I'm going to deposit. Next is offline payment, that we can use NEFT, RTGS, and next is over the counter. Over the counter includes three different modes of payment. First is check, then it is demand draft, last it is cash. So I will be depositing check, going to bank account, going to bank and depositing to the bank account. The name I will be writing is of government. Next it will be demand draft. Third it will be cash. I can also deposit to this particular bank, okay, in the prescribed name. So it is nothing but what? Over the counter. Earlier, there was applicable limit of rupees 10,000 to over the counter payment. Now, no such limit is applicable to even offline modes of payment, including NEFT, RTGS, or OTC, which is over the counter. Okay, so these different modes that you can check: internet banking, debit credit card, NEFT, RTGS, and over the counter. By these different modes, by these different mediums, we can deposit the amount to our electronic cash ledger, that you can check over here, electronic cash ledger. Okay. So let us say I am depositing, instead of rupees 16,200, I am depositing, let us say 17,000. I can definitely deposit. It is not always that I need to deposit the exact amount of liability of 16200. It is not at all that I am required to deposit the exact amount of liability. I can even deposit what? Any of the amount at my discretion. I am depositing what? Let us say 17,000 of rupees. So this is my electronic cash ledger maintained on the books of accounts of government. Okay. And it is as good as my bank account. It is as good as my Paytm account. It is as good as my some, let us say, e-wallet account. This is my account. Whenever I want to deposit, I will be depositing the amount. There is some procedure that we will be discussing further, but there is a procedure to, let us say, deposit the amount to cash ledger. Even it is my bank account, it is my e-wallet account. Whenever I wish, I can withdraw also the amount from my electronic cash ledger. This is my account with government, my bank account with government, my e-wallet account with government. Whenever I wish, I will be depositing the amount. Whenever I wish, I will be withdrawing the amount at my discretion. Yes, but if you are depositing the amount, it is not your saving account, it is not your FD account that you will be receiving some interest. Okay, so forget about interest. You are not going to receive a single penny of interest. So it is just operations are like bank account. Okay, so if you are depositing, let us say rupees 17,000, it is not, again I am repeating, it is not always the exact amount of 16200 I am required to deposit. I can deposit any amount at my discretion, subject to availability of amount in my bank account. Okay, so let us say I am depositing 17,000. Now you are required to answer, my dearest friends, you are required to answer, this is my 17,000, this is my 17,000 with government. It is my 17,000 of rupees with government. So you are required to answer, 17,000 is what? My asset, liability of government. So this 17,000 will be credited. This 17,000 will be credited to electronic cash ledger. I think you are getting my point. This 17,000 rupees will be credited to electronic cash ledger. Okay, now what will happen? My liability is rupees 18,000, then I need to pay. My liability is of rupees 18,000, that I'm required to pay. But obviously you are already aware that I will not be depositing rupees 18,000. I will be depositing just rupees what? 16200 to government. Yes or no? I will not be paying 18,000 to government. I will be just paying what? 16200 to government. Now what will happen? For paying this rupees 18,000, I will be first utilizing my ITC of rupees 1800. Okay, so what will happen? I will be crediting 1800 from credit ledger. Are you getting my point? I will be debiting liability register over here. I will be debiting liability register over here by rupees 1800. So this account becomes nil. So this amount ITC of rupees 1800 is now used for my liability of rupees 1800. So this account is now closed. Now balance of 16200, that still I need to pay. 16200 still I need to pay, but already I have deposited 17,000 to my cash ledger. I think you are getting my point. Yes, no. Amount of rupees 17,000 is already deposited to my cash ledger. So I will be debiting liability register over here of rupees 16200 and I will be crediting my cash ledger over here. I will be crediting my cash ledger over here of rupees 16200, and now this liability is disposed of. That you can check. 18,000 was my liability. 1800 I'm utilizing it from my ITC ledger, and balance amount of rupees 16200 I'm utilizing from what? My cash ledger, and this amount is now, or this liability is now set off. I have already used my entire ITC. I have used my entire ITC. So this account is also now closed, and my cash ledger is having still balance of rupees 1800. I have already said, I have already discussed this, that this my cash ledger is my e-wallet account, is my bank account with government. Whenever I wish, definitely I can withdraw this amount of rupees 800. This amount of rupees 800 is eligible for refund to me. Whenever I wish, definitely I can claim refund of this particular amount. Alternatively, I can also put this amount or to my electronic cash ledger for any of my subsequent future liability, friends. Okay, so this is how the entire mechanism, this is how the entire structure of payment of tax works by way of three different ledgers. First was cash ledger, second was credit ledger, and third was liability register. So now we will be discussing some depth, some provision, some concept in relation to each and every ledger. The first out of which is electronic cash ledger. Okay, what is the fundamental? Already we have discussed. Any amount that I am depositing to government, which is through my bank account, through my offline mode of payment, let us say OTC is there, NEFT, RTGS is there, bank account is there in online payment, or let us say credit debit card is, let us say, available through provisions. Okay, so any my deposits, any my payments will be reflected in electronic cash ledger. So now you are required to answer, my deposits will be reflected where? Will be reflected where? Into my cash ledger. Amount will be what? Debit or credit? It will be credited to my electronic cash ledger, and let us say that amount will be used for the purpose of payment of tax, interest, penalty, fees, and others. So that amount of payment will be debited to my electronic cash ledger, friends. Okay, so what is the format of ledger? Already we have discussed. Deposit will be credited, and this deposit can be towards tax, interest, penalty, fees, and others. Okay, and this amount of ledger can be used for payment of tax, interest, penalty, fees, and others. A very important thing that we first need to discuss is, if I'm depositing amount of tax, listen me very carefully. If I'm depositing amount of tax, let us say I'm depositing CGST tax, that can only be utilized for the purpose of payment of CGST tax liability. So if I need to dispose of my liability of CGST interest, what I need to deposit is my CGST interest. If I need to dispose of my liability of IGST penalty, what I need to deposit, let us say deposit is, let us say, IGST penalty. So the amount, let us say, deposited towards CGST tax cannot be utilized for SGST interest, cannot be utilized for IGST tax. In short, it cannot be utilized for any other purpose. It has to be utilized only and only for the purpose of CGST tax. For any purpose other than CGST tax, the amount cannot be directly utilized. So what is the alternative? Let us say my liability was IGST penalty. My liability was IGST penalty, and wrongfully what I have deposited to my electronic cash ledger is, let us say, CGST tax. My deposit was towards CGST tax and my liability is towards IGST penalty. Directly this amount cannot be utilized. You are getting my point? This CGST tax can only be, the amount which is reflected in electronic cash ledger can only be utilized for disposing liability of what? It is IGST penalty. This amount cannot be utilized for any purpose other than CGST tax. So what I need to do now? Okay, so simple way is now available with us. We need to shift the amount from CGST tax in cash ledger. We need to shift the amount from CGST tax to IGST penalty. We need to shift the amount from CGST tax to IGST penalty, and after shifting the amount towards IGST penalty, now reflection in electronic cash ledger, it would be in relation to IGST penalty, and that IGST penalty can be utilized towards disposing this liability of IGST penalty. I think you're getting my point. Yes, no? Okay. So the deposits will be reflected in the credit side of this particular ledger, and any payments will be debited to this particular ledger. And the remaining amount can be refunded to the taxable person if he is filing an application for the purpose of refund, friends. Next, what are the different modes? Already we have discussed. First is to online payments are available, to offline payments are available. To online are internet banking, debit, credit card, but this is practically not available. So I need to delete it off for practical aspects. And offline, we have two different modes of payment: NEFT, RTGS, OTC. OTC is containing three different modes of payment: cash, check, and demand draft. Okay. Now, how the exactly the procedure in relation to payment of tax, very practical, very fundamental things that we are going to discuss. Now listen me. My bank account, that is my personal bank account, is having amount of 100 crore. Okay, so it would be HDFC Bank saving account of Smith Shah having 100 crore. I want to deposit this amount to my electronic cash ledger. And the amount will be credited, that you are already aware. The amount will be credited. I want to deposit, let us say, CGST tax. And that CGST tax will be credited to my electronic cash ledger. Yes, no? Yes. So how these 100 crore from my bank account, from my saving account, will be transferred to this CGST tax reflected in electronic cash ledger? The entire procedure, this mechanism that we are going to discuss now. Getting my point or not? What we are going to discuss? The account in SDFC is reflecting 100 crore. In my name, Smith Shah is having 100 crore of balance. Okay. So that amount I need to deposit to my electronic cash ledger. Getting my point? This amount I need to deposit into my electronic cash ledger. So how will this happen? From 100 crore from my bank account to credit side of electronic cash ledger into GST portal. So how the entire procedure is going to happen? This is divided into few steps. First step is creation of challan on the common portal. We need to fill up the amount, the mode, the amount that we are going to pay. Let us say we are having some major heads. Listen me very carefully. There's technical words. We are having some major heads. What are the major heads we are having? That you can check over here. First is CGST, then it is IGST, then you can check it is a cess. It is GST compensation cess. Okay. Next is it is Gujarat SGST. I'm recording this based upon my GST number. So I'm registering Gujarat. So this will be Gujarat GST, Gujarat SGST. Okay. So we are having four major heads: CGST, IGST, cess, and SGST. Okay, if I would have get myself registered into Goa, so it would be Goa SGST. If it is Maharashtra, it would be Maharashtra SGST, and so on. Okay, so these are major heads: C, I, cess, SGST. We also have 5 minor heads. These are C, I, cess, S are called as major heads. We have different 5 minor heads. First is tax, then is interest, then is penalty, then is fees, last is others. So these 5 different minor heads are available with us: tax, interest, penalty, fees, others. So while entering into first step is creation of challan, we need to do fundamentally 2 points. Point number 1 is selection of appropriate major or minor head depending upon your liability. Suppose my liability was IGST penalty, so I need to deposit amount in IGST penalty. Over here I need to deposit the amount. Yes, no? I think you are getting my point. Suppose my liability is towards, let us say, CGST tax. So I need to deposit amount towards CGST tax. Suppose my liability is towards fees of, let us say, SGST. So I need to deposit the amount in fees of SGST. So appropriate major minor needs to be selected. Second thing that we are required to input over here is the methodology that what we are going to do. We are going to pay by internet banking. We are going to pay, let us say, through electronic, it is through OTC or it is through NEFT, RTGS. That mode we need to select in this particular first step. It is creation of challan. So after challan creation, a number will be generated. It is termed as CPIN. It is common portal identification number. A wonderful procedure, a very fabulous procedure is developed by government, which is common portal. So what was first step is creation of challan. After challan creation, a number is created which is CPIN. It is common portal identification number. For every successful chalan, for every chalan which is successfully generated, a number is available with us, which is nothing but what? Common portal identification number. This number is valid for 15 number of days, and this chalan should be used for the purpose of payment within 15 days. If we are not using the chalan for the purpose of payment, it will automatically expire after 15 days. So what we need to do then after 15 days? We need to create another chalan. वापस एक बार हमको सिलेक्ट करना पड़ेगा माइनर हेड, मेजर हेड. अगेन वी नीड टू सिलेक्ट द appropriate mode of payment, friends. Okay, so first was chalan creation, second was CPIN, which is common portal identification number. It is 14 digit number. It remains valid for 15 number of days. Okay, so after CPIN, we need to actually pay the amount to government by the mode that we have selected, that we have already communicated while creation of this particular chalan. If we have selected internet banking, we need to go, that portal will be redirecting you to the preferred bank. If it is OTC, if it is NEFT RTGS, you need to take the printout of this particular chalan, and then you need to go to bank and you need to deposit either NEFT RTGS form, or let us say if it is cash, if it is check, if it is DD, you need to deposit that amount or the methodology with the particular chalan. Okay, so step number 3, it would be actual payment. It would be actual payment. So after chalan creation, a number is created, which is CPIN, common portal identification number, remains valid for 15 number of days. After that, we need to pay actually to government. Actually, the amount is paid to government through bank. Okay. Next, for each and every successful payment, listen me very, very carefully. For each and every successful payment, a number is indicated, a number is generated by the bank. It is nothing but what? It is chalan identification number. This number is known as what, friends? It is chalan identification number. So this goes together. This goes together. So chalan, what is indication of successful chalan? It is CPIN, common portal identification number. After actual payment, a number is generated, which is nothing but what? CIN. It is chalan identification number. Okay. So after CIN is generated, the amount will be reflected in electronic cash ledger. The amount will be reflected. The amount that we have deposited will be reflected as a credit to my electronic cash ledger. So this is how the mechanism works. So from my bank account, having 100 crore of rupees, how the amount will be transferred to my electronic cash ledger? For different steps we do have. First is generation of chalan, whereby major minor head will be selected by us. For major heads we do have 5 minor heads we do have. For major heads, it is CGST, IGST, GST compensation cess, and last is SGST. 5 minor heads we do have. It is tax, interest, penalty, fees, and others. Okay. Next is for every successful chalan, we have CPIN, which is common portal identification number, remains valid for 15 number of days, and it is having 14 digit. Okay. Next is CIN. After payment, a number is generated, which is CIN. It is chalan identification number. This is having 17 digits, which is 14 digit CPIN plus 3 digit bank code, and it indicates what? It is highest important. It indicates what? The payment has been realized to the and credited to appropriate government account. And what would be the fourth step? It would be credit of amount in electronic cash ledger. So this is how the entire mechanism works for electronic cash ledger. Now some interesting points that we are going to discuss in relation to particular electronic cash ledger. So what we have discussed so far is only electronic chalans are available. If we need to pay the amount to the government, if we want to deposit some amount to government, if we want some reflection as a credit to electronic cash ledger, we need to generate the chalan electronically only. It is only e-chalans that are applicable under GST. Earlier under service tax, VAT, excise, sometimes we have observed that some manual chalans were also there. Multiple chalans were also there. But under GST, it is just a single chalan, and that also what? Electronically that we are required to generate, friends. Okay. So you need to answer simultaneously whether manual chalans are applicable under GST. No. There are no manual chalans. Only electronic chalans are applicable under GST, and that only single chalan is applicable under GST. That you can answer now. How many types of chalans are prescribed for various taxes and payments to be paid under GST regime? So how many types of chalans? Answer me. How many types of chalans? Only single chalan. It is only single chalan that is required to be generated. No multiple chalan system is now prevalent under GST. So first is no manual challans, only electronic challans. Number 2 is only single challan, no different multiple challans are available under GST. So what is validity period of each challan? That is CPIN. It is common portal identification number. So what is the validity of this particular each challan? Already we have discussed. You need to answer. It is 15 number of days. If you are not using that challan within 15 days, that challan will be expiring, and for next payment or for another payment you need to create another different challan which is absolutely free of cost on the portal. So no need to worry what after 15 days. Okay, next, can unregistered person make payment through common portal? So we have actually two different parts while filing GST REG01. What is REG01? It is formed for the purpose of obtaining registration under GST. This is divided into two parts. First is part A, very basic details like email ID, like mobile number, permanent account number, okay, like state in which you are obtaining registration is required to furnish in part A. And second is part B, where detailed information in relation to nature of business, bank account, let us say nature of activity, various detailed information you are required to furnish in part B. So after filing part A, the taxpayer or the applicant is allotted a number which is termed as TRN or TIN, temporary identification number, or TRN, it is temporary reference number. Legally it is termed as TRN, temporary reference number. Okay, so based upon this temporary reference number, you are required to furnish what? Part B. After obtaining TRN, you are not termed as registered person, because still part B is required to be furnished. Yes, no. So after furnishing part A, a number is available to you is TRN, temporary reference number, and after filing part B, if the registration is successfully allotted to you, you are available with GST, and it is goods and services tax identification number. Okay, so law is allowing these persons who are just having what? TRN, these peoples can also deposit the amount to electronic cash ledger. Obviously government is going to, or obviously government is getting some money, so why government should restrict? Yes, no. So these persons or these nature of persons who are just having what? Temporary reference number can also deposit the amount to electronic cash ledger. So still they are unregistered, because unless otherwise you are having GST and you are not eligible for let us say getting yourself registered. Yes, no, or you cannot come to be registered person. So if you are having TRN, which is temporary reference number, you are still unregistered person, and even if you are unregistered person, you can deposit, you can create challan, you can deposit the amount in electronic cash ledger. So how can unregistered person make payment through common portal? It is after obtaining what? Temporary reference number. So based upon temporary reference number, you can deposit the amount to electronic cash ledger. Okay, this already we have discussed. Manner of utilizing the amount which is reflected in electronic cash ledger. The amount that you are depositing has to be bifurcated like this. It is major head, minor head. 4 major heads we do have, 5 minor heads we do have. 4 major heads that you can check: CGST, IGST, SEZ and SGST. 5 minor heads that you can check: it is tax, interest, penalty, fees and others. If you are depositing the amount in electronic cash ledger, the head is CGST tax, that amount can only be utilized for CGST tax. It cannot be utilized for IGST penalty, it cannot be utilized for IGST interest, it cannot be utilized for IGST fees and so on. That amount has to be utilized only for the purpose for which it is deposited. Now the mechanism is available that you can shift the amount from, let us say, CGST tax to IGST tax, CGST tax to IGST penalty. Whatever the amount of liability you do have, that amount is available for set off. Okay, so if you are having liability of, let us say, CGST tax, and you have deposited in cash ledger, let us say, IGST penalty, so you can shift IGST penalty to CGST tax, and after that shifting you can use that amount, which is reflected in electronic cash ledger to set off the liability of CGST tax funds. Okay, so utilizing the cash available electronic cash ledger, this cannot be utilized for discharging the liability under any other major head as well as what, friends? Minor head. So very simple. If we conclude about electronic cash ledger, what will be the conclusion? The amount that I am depositing to my electronic cash ledger will be credited to the ledger. Point number two, various modes are available with us. Two online, two offline modes are available. One online mode is available, that is internet banking practically. Two offline modes are available. First is NEFT RTGS, second is OTC. OTC is nothing but what? Over the counter. Three different modes of payment are included in that: cash, check, and demand draft. Next, the amount, how the amount is transferred from my bank account to that particular electronic cash ledger. So we have four different steps. Step number one would be creation of challan, whereby we will be selecting appropriate major, appropriate minor, depending upon our liability. Point number two, we will be also selecting the mode of payment, whether we are going to pay that amount through internet banking, whether the amount is paid by way of OTC, or whether the amount is paid by NEFT or RTGS funds. Okay. Point number two, a number will be available after every successful creation of challan. It will be CPIN, which is common portal identification number. Point number three, we will be making the actual payment to government, and then after the number will be generated based upon successful payment, it will be CIN, it is challan identification number, and after that amount will be actually credited to my electronic cash ledger. Okay, the amount which is deposited into electronic cash ledger under appropriate major or minor can only be utilized for that particular liability only. If my liability is IGST interest and I have deposited CGST interest, I need to shift that CGST interest to first of all IGST interest, and then that amount can be utilized for my liability of IGST interest funds. Okay, so first ledger we are done with, electronic cash ledger. Second ledger, very simple, very short, it is electronic credit ledger. Okay, so what happens now? My inwards. Suppose I have purchased goods worth rupees, service worth rupees 10,000. I have paid tax at the time of my inward. Let us, it was 1800 of rupees. So this 1800 is my input tax credit. Yes, no. This 1800 is my ITC that will be reflected in electronic credit ledger. It will be reflected in electronic credit ledger, and this amount will be debit or credit? This amount will be credited to my electronic credit ledger because it is my asset, government's liability. This amount is my asset, government's liability. So government is crediting its liability of rupees 1800. But very important thing that I will be conveying to you, my credit ledger will be always crediting the amount of tax. Listen me very carefully. My credit ledger will be always crediting the amount of tax. It will never credit amount of interest, amount of penalty, amount of fees, other amounts. Why this ITC is not available? Because my supplier cannot ask CGST interest from me. Are you getting my point? What my supplier will ask from me is just amount of consideration plus GST component. I think you are getting my point. Yes, no. My supplier is just going to ask what? Consideration for the goods or service that I have procured plus tax on it. Getting my point or not? He or she or it cannot ask CGST interest, cannot ask CGST penalty, cannot ask CGST fees, cannot ask other amount of CGST from me. That directly I need to pay from my cash ledger to government. Yes, no? So what ITC? Again, you can check the word also. It is ITC. It is electronic tax ledger, or it is ITC, electronic, it is input tax credit. It is not electronic cash ledger. It is input tax credit. So only tax can be available as credit. Interest, penalty, fees, others cannot be available as credit to me. And therefore, the credit amount of electronic credit ledger can only be utilized for payment of tax. This amount cannot not be utilized for interest, cannot be utilized for penalty, cannot be utilized for fees, cannot be utilized for any other payments also. This amount of tax can on and only can utilize for the purpose of payment of tax only. For any other mode, let us say, for any other payment, let us say interest, penalty, fees, other, a single ledger is available, which is nothing but what? Cash ledger. Okay. So if I need to pay tax, listen me very carefully. The very important thing, if I need to pay tax, two ledger options are available with me. First, it would be credit ledger, or let us say ITC ledger. And second, it would be cash ledger. Yes, no? two ledger options will be available with me. First, it would be ITC ledger. Second, it would be cash ledger. Okay. First, I will be utilizing ITC. Then I will be utilizing cash ledger if still my liability remains to pay. Next, if I am having liability of interest, penalty, fees, others. If I am having liability of interest, penalty, fees, other, only and only single option is available, which is what? Cash ledger. No other options will be available to me because I cannot have ITC of penalty, I cannot have ITC of interest, I cannot have ITC of let us say fees. I cannot have ITC of any other payments. Yes, no. I can have ITC of only amount of tax. I think you are getting my point. Yes, no. Okay. So that fundamental point you can check. ITC as a self-assessed in monthly returns will be reflected in ITC ledger. The credit, very beautiful thing. The credit in this ledger can be utilized to make payment of tax only. Can be utilized for payment of tax only. Can be utilized for payment of tax only, and not any other amounts such as interest, penalty, fees, etc. The reason that already I have explained to you, my ledger will be credited by only amount of tax. My ledger will be credited, will be having credit of only amount of tax. Therefore, I can utilize the amount only for the purpose of tax from my electronic credit ledger. Okay. So credit amount of this ledger may be used for payment of output tax such as IGST, CGST, SGST or UTGST in the prescribed order. Yes, no? Okay. So first ledger that we have discussed was cash ledger. Second ledger that we have discussed was credit ledger. Hope everything is very crystal clear to you. Hope you are getting the fundamental points in relation to payment of tax. Now third ledger that we are going to discuss, the last ledger that we are going to discuss is liability register. Very simple. So now the third ledger would be electronic liability register. Any of my liability, it may be in relation to tax, it may be in relation to penalty, it may be in relation to interest, it may be in relation to fees or any other payments, will be debited to my electronic liability register. Okay. So it may be tax, interest, penalty, fees, others. It is nothing but what? Minor hits. This may be in relation to CGST, IGST, GST compensation cess or SGST. Okay. So if my liability is of tax, listen very carefully now. If my liability is in relation to tax, this amount I need to pay by way of cash ledger or credit ledger. This amount I need to pay by way of what? Either cash or credit ledger. But if the amounts are in relation to interest, penalty, fees, others, only and only one option that is available to us is cash ledger, because these amounts cannot be available as what? ITC. I cannot get ITC in relation to interest, penalty, fees, others. Yes, no? Okay. So any liability that you can check over here, any liability will be reflected in my electronic liability register for a particular month. Okay. This will be reflected by way of filing a return called as what, friends? GSTR1. Okay. So this is my liability register where my debit can be in relation to amounts payable towards tax, interest, penalty, fees, etc. is others. Okay. And the next is amounts payable towards output tax. Again, tax is a repetition, but you can check what can be the credit of this liability register. So if the amount is in relation to tax, interest, penalty, fees, others, the credit can be of electronic cash ledger. These 5 payments, tax, interest, penalty, fees, others, can be paid by way of what? Crediting cash ledger. And if the amount is towards tax, if the amount is the amount of liability is towards tax, that can only be utilized, or that can be credit ledger can be utilized for that purpose. In very simple words, the credit ledger can only be utilized for the purpose of payment of tax, whereas the cash ledger can be utilized towards payment of tax, interest, penalty, fees and others. Okay. So one connected point that we are going to discuss, this was all about section 49 of CGST Act. What we have discussed so far in relation to cash ledger, in relation to credit ledger, in relation to liability register, that all was in relation to section 49 of CGST Act 2017. Okay, the connected section or the reference section, it is of section 19 of IGST Act 2017. A wonderful discussion, and this will be our conclusion of this particular discussion in relation to payment of tax. Okay. So, earlier also I have discussed, we have two types of supplies. One is intrastate supply, second is interstate supply. What is the general meaning of intrastate supply? It is, friends, within state supply. What is the general sense? It is within state supply. If I am from Gujarat, being registered person, if I am from Gujarat, supplying in the state of Gujarat only, so it will be generally termed as what? Intrastate supply. And if I am from Gujarat, supplying in the state of Maharashtra, if I am in Maharashtra, supplying in the state of Goa, if I am in Delhi, supplying in the states of Kerala, so that will be termed as what? Outside state supply. Generally, it is termed as what, friends? Interstate supply. But how technically we define intra and interstate supply is again a wonderful discussion. So how technically we will be identifying, we will be defining these two nature of supply, intra and interstate supply. So we have three locations generally available with us. First is location of supplier, second is, friends, location of recipient, and third is, friends, place of supply. Location of supplier, second is, friends, location of recipient, and third is place of supply. What is place of supply? Is again a huge discussion that we can do, friends, but generally place of supply means the place where the consumption takes place. Place where the goods or services are consumed is generally termed as what? Place of supply. So we have location of supplier, we have location of recipient, and third we do have with us is place of supply, friends. Now what happens? Listen to me very carefully now. For determination of nature of supply, that is, it is intrastate supply or it is interstate supply, we do compare location of supplier with place of supply. What we are comparing is location of supplier and place of supply. If these two locations, which is supplier and place of supply, are in same state or are in same union territory, it is termed as what? Intrastate supply. Within state supply, the applicable tax is what, friends? CGST or SGST or UTGST. I think you are getting my point. We do compare location of supplier with place of supply. What we are comparing is location of supplier with place of supply. If these two locations are in same state, or if these two locations are in same union territory, it is termed as what? Intrastate supply, which is within state supply. The applicable tax would be what, friends? CGST plus SGST or UTGST. And if the location of supplier and place of supply, if the location of supplier and place of supply are into different states, are into different union territories. One is in state, second is in union territory. It is termed as outside state supply, which is interstate supply, and the applicable tax is going to become what, friends? Nothing but what? IGST. It is integrated goods and services tax. Now, friends, sometimes what happens is the nature of supply should be intrastate supply. Based upon location of supplier and place of supply, it should be intrastate supply. The applicable tax should be C plus S or UGST. But unfortunately, by mistake, what actually I have done is interstate supply and levying instead of C plus S or U. What amount of tax I am, let us say, adding in my invoice that I am charging to my recipient, it is, let us say, IGST. Are you getting my point? It should be intrastate supply, C plus S, but what am I doing? Actually, it is, friends, interstate supply. Getting my point or not? Okay. Second, it may be exactly reverse. It should be interstate supply in my invoice because the nature of supply was interstate supply because of location of supplier and place of supply in two different state, two different UT, one state and the UT. So it should be interstate supply. The applicable tax should be IGST, but unfortunately what I have levied is intrastate supply, whereby what I am charging is C plus S or U. Yes or no? So what is the remedy or what is the solution available under the law which is governed by section 19 of IGST Act 2017? That situation 1 you can check, CGST plus SGST paid instead of IGST. Situation number 2, IGST paid instead of C plus S or U. So what is the actual remedy or what is the provisions in relation to this particular thing? So what law does say? That taxpayer, you have not done some tax evasion. You are not avoiding or you are not evading any tax. Your intentions are not malified. Getting my point? You are not doing any fraud to government. You are not, let us say, getting the revenue of government minimized. Yes or no? So, what is the mistake on the part of registered person? Is not a non-payment of tax. It is just wrong selection of head. It is not the amount that I am suppressing. It is the just wrong head that is selected by me. Yes, no. So what does law say? This should be intra, but what you are doing is interstate supply. So law is getting this solution by this particular way, that I need to pay C plus S and I need to claim refund of IGST. What I need to pay is C plus S and actually I should be claiming what? Refund of that particular IGST. Second, what I should do is pay IGST over here. I should pay IGST over here, and in this scenario I should claim refund of C plus S. The main question arises over here. It is in relation to interest, because this identification was not immediate identification. This identification was after some time, which was, let us say, 3 months or 4 months, let us say 6 months or even a year. So in this scenario, what about interest? This payment I am making, C plus S I am paying, but this is after 3 months, after 4 months. So what about interest? This refund I will be getting from government of IGST in first scenario, C plus S in second scenario. Yes, no? So what about interest on refund? So government has said like, you have not paid the amount to the government. You have just selected the wrong head. So there is no question of interest payment also. There is no question of refund amount also. Getting my point? So neither you are required to pay some interest, nor you are going to receive any amount of interest. So this payment should be absolutely payment of tax only. This refund will also be absolutely refund of amount of tax only. This amount will be absolutely payment of tax only. This amount should be absolutely refund of tax only. The amount of interest, the amount of penalty is absolutely zero in this scenario, because it is not that we have underpaid tax. It is not any fraud or any evasion that we were intended to. It is just wrong selection of appropriate head, friends. Okay. So friends, to fundamental fabulous provisions we have discussed today. First was in relation to section 49 of CGST Act 2017, where we have discussed something in relation to cash ledger, credit ledger, liability register. We are now aware how is the exact mechanism working onto GST portal. How is the exact payment happening into GST portal? What is the procedure, let us say, to deposit the amount of tax? Entire is very, very crystal clear to you, and hope everything is very, very now fine to you. Point number 2 that we have discussed, what to do in case of intrastate supply. Now we have actually done interstate supply and vice versa. So what is the consequence under provision of the law, whether we are required to pay interest or not? So that we have already discussed by way of section 19 of IGST Act. So 2 sections, I think you have absolutely got the knowledge of. First was 49 of CGST, second was section 19 of IGST. Okay, thank you very, very much, friends, for the opportunity. Thank you so much. Thank you, friends.